Victoria's old flame came back to the country. On our wedding anniversary, she ditched me to go cheer him up. My grandfather was critically ill, and I was 20,000 short on his medical bills. But Victoria was off traveling the world with her old flame, spending millions. I asked for my own debit card back, but Victoria just scoffed. Done playing the part? That's not a very original excuse to move assets. Because we missed the best window for treatment, the hospital called with the worst news. My grandfather had passed away. I cut our wedding photo in half and sent it to her with the divorce papers. To hell with her damn fortune. Anyone who wants it can have it. Honey, come home soon. I made a bunch of your favorites. Before I could finish, Victoria cut me off calmly. Paul is back in the country today. Mr. Cole asked me to pick him up. I fell silent. Just hearing that name made me feel small. Victoria's gentle tone was disarmingly frank. I'm telling you beforehand precisely so you don't overthink it. Oh, and I sent you a gift. It should have arrived, so make sure you look for it. I went downstairs to get the package and unwrapped it. It was an expensive men's skincare set. Holding the gift, my mood lifted. I thought she still cared about me. But when I opened it, I noticed a flaw in the packaging. I went to the department store to ask about it. The sales associate looked at the flaw and said politely, "I'm sorry, sir, but we don't offer exchanges or returns on our sample products for cosmetic defects." I froze, holding the bottle. Sample? Yes, this is a promotional gift with purchase. I stood there thinking, holding the gift, when a text came in from my father-in-law. "Leo, son, I don't mean to rush you too, but you need to get a move on with having kids." Attached was a picture. Victoria and Paul on a yacht. They were gazing into each other's eyes, fingers intertwined. My father-in-law was always saying things like that. He looked down on me for my humble background. I was used to it. What made my breath catch was the items next to Paul. I zoomed in on the photo. On the sofa beside him sat the full-sized, retail version of the skincare set. And it wasn't just the skincare. There were a dozen shopping bags from other luxury brands. My hands started to tremble as a bottomless despair washed over me. Victoria had given me the free sample that came with Paul's gift. So what did our marriage certificate, tucked away in the drawer, even mean? As I walked toward the mall entrance, a blast of cold wind swept through the glass doors. Fall was here. The weather had turned cold. That evening, I was eating alone at the table when the phone rang. Paul's magnetic, gentle voice came through the line. "Oh, Victoria, don't interrupt me while I'm talking to Leo." His voice was playful, the ends of his words lilting upwards. I could hear the teasing provocation in his tone even over the phone. "Leo, my man, how have you been?" "I'm fine. Victoria picked me up right after work today, but please don't get the wrong idea. I would never get in the way of your relationship." His cheerful tone was tinged with a hint of regret. "As long as she's happy, that's all that matters. If Victoria's happy, I can finally let go." Realizing his slip, Paul quickly corrected himself. Sorry, I'm just rambling, Leo. Don't mind me." I sighed silently. "She's not happy. She thinks about you constantly." But out loud, I put on a smile. "No problem, we're doing great. Welcome back." Victoria snatched the phone, her voice stern. "Leo, don't give Paul a hard time. He's a simple person, he doesn't mean any harm." I wasn't giving him a hard time. "I don't want you using your little tricks on him. Besides, we're married. He's no threat to you." I was speechless, not knowing whether to be angry or try to argue. It's hopeless. The one who falls in love first is always the prisoner. Everyone said I'd hit the jackpot marrying Victoria. I knew I could never compare to Paul. He was the polished son of a prominent family, the one who had helped Victoria when she was at her lowest and had nothing. If Paul's family hadn't looked down on her for being a poor girl with nothing to her name, they would have been married long ago. But fate had other plans. After they broke up, Victoria's company took off, and she soon joined the ranks of New York's elite. Unaware of any of this, I fell for the charismatic Victoria and threw a wrench in the works. For 3 years, I pursued her relentlessly. I gave it my all, and eventually Victoria agreed to marry me. After the wedding, I became a stay-at-home husband at her request. She said that as a married couple, we should be completely open with each other. So she took my debit card and gave me a supplementary card for her account. Honey, spend whatever you want from this. It's our money. Getting that card was a sweet moment for me, not because of the unlimited spending, but because of the sense of security Victoria was giving me. But gradually, I discovered how inconvenient it was. The card couldn't be used for cash withdrawals, only purchases. I couldn't even send my grandfather money for his living expenses. Every time I asked Victoria for cash, she had a perfect excuse to refuse. Once, when I suggested I just take my own debit card back, she got furious. Leo, is it that you don't trust me? You don't even have that much money in your account. Do you really think I care about such a small amount? If you want it, take it. I just can't believe you'd be so suspicious of me. Seeing how angry she was, I dropped the idea. From then on, I dutifully played the role of the stay-at-home husband. Beneath the glamorous exterior, my spirit was in tatters. My father-in-law was desperate for a grandchild, but I couldn't tell him the truth. I couldn't tell him that after our wedding night, Victoria hadn't touched me again. It was several days before Victoria came home again. I greeted her with a smile, but she sat down on the sofa with a cold expression. Leo, I never realized you were such a petty, small-minded man. I was stunned, looking at her in confusion. Paul told me everything. You humiliated him on the phone. Why would you do that? I didn't. And now you're lying. She shot to her feet, her eyes like ice. Paul was my first love, you know that. You have me now, so why do you still have to give him a hard time? What did he ever do to you to deserve that kind of humiliation? I was trembling with anger. My fists clenched so tight my knuckles turned white. Days of pent-up frustration finally erupted. Then what did I do wrong? You spent our anniversary with him, you sent me the free sample from his gift, and now you come home and accuse me based on his side of the story. My eyes grew red as the pent-up resentment poured out. Victoria, who is humiliating who here? I'm from a poor family and I haven't seen much of the world, but that doesn't mean you can insult me with someone else's leftovers. My heart felt like it was seizing up, but I managed to smile as I looked her up and down. Then again, you were something Paul didn't want, so why should I care about a skincare sample? The words were barely out of my mouth before Victoria's hands were wrapped tightly around my neck. Leo, watch your mouth. Paul and I had to separate, but I'm more than good enough for you. Don't be so ungrateful. You're Mr. Vance now, but that can change at any time. I struggled to breathe, instinctively clawing at her hands. A cold smile played on Victoria's lips, the tenderness in her eyes completely gone. Let me make this clear. Paul is back, and I'll be spending most of my time with him from now on. You'd better just stay home and behave. If I find out you're causing trouble for him again, don't expect me to honor our marriage vows. She threw me off and pulled the supplementary card from my wallet. I'm confiscating this for now. When you've thought it over and you're ready to apologize to Paul, I'll give it back once I'm satisfied. That card was my entire lifeline. Without it, I couldn't survive. I lunged for it. You said this was our joint property. Victoria shoved me to the floor. She stood over me, her contempt undisguised. Paul was right. You're only after my money. In that case, I definitely can't let you have it. What if you secretly transferred assets behind my back? I'd be at a huge loss. The prenup we signed was very clear. The Vance family money has nothing to do with you. You can spend the next few days at home thinking about what you've done. The door slammed shut, leaving me in the wreckage. I lay on the floor as waves of pain washed over me. A slow, agonizing torture. It was only then that I remembered. She really had given me a document to sign. At the time, I was so overcome with the joy of marrying her that I just signed it in a daze, without even reading the contents. So the stay-at-home husband, the no secrets between us, the joint property, it was all a lie. It was a web of lies Victoria had spun to strip me of my last bit of independence. Our marriage was a cage, and I had walked right into it. My phone rang. It was the hospital. My grandfather was in critical condition. When I got to the hospital, he was lying in bed, his breathing shallow. Each beep of the heart monitor felt like a blow to my chest. His health had been poor for the last year. The doctor said it was from years of malnutrition and overwork. My grandfather raised me. He'd carry me in his arms while hauling a bag full of bottles on his back just to get by. I leaned over the bed, holding his hand, phone pressed to my ear. My voice was choked with desperation. Victoria, I'm begging you. We've been married for 3 years. I'm not asking for anything else. Just give me my debit card back. My grandfather, he's not going to make it. I could hear flirtatious noises in the background. It seemed Victoria was ready to burn this bridge for good. Are you kidding me? This time it's your grandfather. Who will it be next time? Leo, the agreement is crystal clear. The Vance family money has nothing to do with you. Not a single cent. The doctor stood by the bed, his expression grim. The patient's condition is critical. If we don't operate soon, he might not last the week. Panicked. I scraped together $10,000, but I was still 10,000 short. Outside the hospital, rain was pouring down. I stood under an awning and made one last, desperate call. Victoria, I don't want anything else. I won't compete with Paul. I'll apologize to him. You two can be together, whatever you want. I shouldn't have argued with you. It was all my fault. Please, I'm begging you. Just give me $10,000. I'm just 10,000 short. Victoria's voice was cold. Leo, have you always been this much of a gold digger? Do you have any idea what your food, your housing? A nurse ran down the stairs and grabbed my arm. Mr. Miller, I'm so sorry. Your relative missed the optimal window for emergency treatment. My phone slipped from my hand, the screen cracking as it hit the ground. But the crack couldn't stop the flood of push notifications that lit up the screen. First-class flight tickets, 15,000. Jewelry purchase, 150,000. Couture spending, 450,000. So while she was telling me to reflect, she was quietly taking her old flame on a trip around the world. Anyone could spend her money, it seemed. Anyone but me, for the $10,000 I needed. Hello, Leo? I can't believe you're so manipulative you'd hire someone to act this out for you. I stumbled into the emergency room and saw the white sheet covering my grandfather. My heart died with him. The phone rang again. I answered mechanically. Leo, who gave you the nerve to hang up on me? You do that again and I swear I'll divorce you. Victoria had finally said it. I guess she'd been wanting a divorce for a long time. Today was just the trigger she needed to finally get rid of me. Fine. I agree. What did you say? She hadn't expected me to agree so quickly. Her voice was laced with disbelief. I said, I agree to a divorce. It was the first time I had ever spoken to her without a trace of emotion, without any lingering illusions about our shattered marriage. Leo, what kind of trick are you trying to pull now? Victoria clearly didn't believe me. After a pause, she seemed to have a realization. You're just playing the victim to get sympathy again. Aren't you? Let me tell you, even if we divorce, you're not getting a single penny from me. The line went dead. I let out a bitter laugh. She really thought everyone was like her, that life was just a series of calculations. I looked at the wedding ring on my finger. Now it just seemed to be mocking me, mocking my absurd devotion. Pulled it off. It meant nothing to me anymore. I got the death certificate and had my grandfather's body cremated. And just like that, there was one less person in the world who loved me. I took my grandfather's ashes back to my hometown. The old house, long unoccupied, had a musty smell. As I went through his belongings, I found nothing but a few patched-up old jackets. The tears I had been holding back finally came, and I hugged the clothes and sobbed. Guilt wasn't a strong enough word for what I felt. If I hadn't thrown everything away for love, if I hadn't believed Victoria's lies, at least I would have had the money to save my grandfather. I hated myself for it, and I hated Victoria. After cleaning the house thoroughly, I found a yellowed comic book in an old box. It had been read so many times the pages were wrinkled and soft. I tried to remember. I'd seen this comic book before my grandfather used to read it to me when I was little, but the memories were hazy. I flipped to the first page. There, in a crooked, childish hand, written in pencil but still legible, were the words Victoria Vance. This was her book? Why did my grandfather have it? I was puzzled, but I quickly put it out of my mind. I put the comic book in my bag, buried my grandfather's ashes on the hill behind the house, and left. When I returned to the house I shared with Victoria, the huge space was empty and cold, lacking any sign of life. I took out our wedding photo. In it, I was beaming and Victoria had a slight smile, but her eyes weren't smiling at all. I hadn't noticed it then, but looking at it now, I could see there was no love in her eyes when she looked at me. All this time, I was just a tool for her to heal after Paul hurt her. I was just the one who groveled hard enough that she tossed me a loveless marriage as a reward. How pathetic. I closed my eyes and slowly tore the photo in two. A single tear fell, a tribute to my dead love. I put the pieces in a plastic bag and sent them, along with the ring and the divorce papers, to her via courier. I packed my things and left the home I had lived in for 3 years. As the door closed, I looked back one last time, a final goodbye to my past. I went back to the little house in my hometown. It was my last refuge. I figured Victoria would sign the divorce papers without a second thought. After all, I wasn't asking for anything that belonged to the Vance family, only for my own bank card back. And she could finally be with Paul out in the open. I was woken up by frantic knocking at the door. I opened it to find an furious-looking Victoria with Paul in tow. I never thought she'd find me here. In all the time we'd known each other, this was the first time she'd deigned to visit such a run-down little village. Before I could speak, Victoria grabbed my wrist. "You live here?" "Yeah. This is where I grew up. Can't compare to your mansion, Ms. Vance." "That's not what I'm talking about." Victoria's brow was furrowed, her tone urgent. "I mean, why didn't you ever tell me you lived here?" "I did. You just never wanted to come with me." I had wanted to bring her here before, to show her where I grew up and share my memories. But she must have been disgusted by the idea, because she always said she was too busy. Eventually, I stopped asking. A flicker of embarrassment crossed her face before she continued. "Is there a river to the south? And a row of apple trees? I remember when I was a kid." "Victoria." Paul cut her off, taking her arm. "Let's stick to the matter at hand. There are so many bugs here, I think I'm having an allergic reaction." I shot him a dirty look. "If you're afraid of bugs, Mr. Cole, you can wait in the car. This place is run down and full of them. We might even get some wild dogs or coyotes later. You're so delicate, I wouldn't want you to get scared." Since she thought I was deliberately giving her precious old flame a hard time, I figured I might as well live up to the accusation. I let my disgust for him show plainly on my face. Sure enough, Paul's face went pale, and he hid behind Victoria. Victoria patted his hand. "He's just trying to scare you. There aren't any coyotes here." Then she turned to me with a frown. "Why would you scare Paul like that? He's sensitive. You don't have to be so cruel." I scoffed. "Victoria, in what capacity are you talking to me right now? We're not even divorced yet, and you're brazenly showing up at my house with your homewrecker to lecture me. Don't you think that's a little ridiculous?" She seemed to latch onto a loophole in my words. "So does that mean you don't want a divorce?" "Of course I do. Since you and Paul are so inseparable, I might as well do you both a favor. Sign the papers and we'll go straight to the courthouse." Seeing my resolve, Victoria, surprisingly, didn't fly into a rage. Instead, her tone softened. "Leo, you've misunderstood. Paul helped me once, and I'm just trying to repay him. It's actually a coincidence. I was also in—" "Ah!" Paul's shriek cut her off. We followed his pointed finger and saw my grandfather's grave. "Victoria, why is there a grave here? That's so creepy." Paul hid behind Victoria, who patiently patted his back to calm him. "This is the countryside. It's normal to have graves nearby. But it scares me. Who would bury a dead person so close to where living people are? Such bad luck." He kept complaining, and I felt a rage surge through me. "Watch your mouth. Whose bad luck? You're the one meddling in someone else's marriage. You might be alive, but you're worse luck than any dead person." Paul hadn't expected me to confront him directly. His mouth hung open as he looked pleadingly at Victoria. That set Victoria off. She glared at me. "Leo, how could you talk to Paul like that? It's no wonder he said it. People around here have no class, burying their dead wherever they please. You really can't shake that poor person mentality. I couldn't hold back any longer. I raised my hand and slapped Victoria hard across the face. Victoria, shut your mouth. That grave, that's my grandfather's. She raised her hand to strike back but froze when she heard who it was. Your grandfather is really dead? The pain in my chest was unbearable, and my eyes reddened again. Yes, he's dead. He died because there was no money to save him. Are you satisfied now? The person you find so unlucky was the only family I had left. Victoria, I'm poor, but didn't you start out that way too? Did you forget your roots so quickly? Pointed at Paul. He didn't want you when you were poor, but now that you're rich, he comes running back, and you think it's true love. You're pathetic. I must have hit a nerve. A vein throbbed on Victoria's temple. She pulled out the divorce papers and furiously signed her name. Divorce. I agree to your terms. I regret ever marrying you, you bitter, spiteful man. As she cursed at me, Paul smirked triumphantly behind her, as if laughing at my clownish behavior. But I didn't care anymore. All I wanted was the divorce. Holding the divorce certificate, I wasn't as sad as I thought I'd be. In fact, I felt liberated. Victoria handed me my debit card and told me the new PIN she'd set. I wish you and Paul a long and happy life together, and may you be barren for all of it. With that blessing, I walked straight to the bank next door to reset the password. When I saw the balance of $20,000, a wave of grief washed over me. This was the amount that would have saved my grandfather. But blaming Victoria was pointless. It was my own fault. I found a teaching job in town. The requirements for teachers here weren't very high, so I had a job that could pay the bills. Some time passed. One day, I saw on my phone that Victoria and Paul were engaged. The social media comments were full of congratulations. Looking at the photo of them kissing, I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. When Victoria and I got married, we took wedding photos, but she wouldn't let me post them on my social feed or announce our marriage to anyone. Her excuse was that the company was in the middle of its IPO, and she was afraid the news would affect it. At the time, I was so in love with her that I believed every word, and I didn't tell a soul. Now the company was public, and she was marrying her one true love. To the outside world, they were the perfect power couple. The story of the wealthy CEO marrying her old flame became a fairy tale. No one knew that the husband she'd left behind had been cast aside, or that the so-called old flame was just the other man who'd won. After class that day, the town mayor found me. Because I had come from the city, most people here treated me like I was worldly and sophisticated. Mr. Miller, a big company is coming here to shoot a commercial and do some promotion for the area. Right here in your village. He wanted me to act as the host, since nobody here had ever dealt with something so big. I readily agreed. I never expected it would be Victoria and Paul. They stood close together, and the villagers who passed by all stopped to stare, whispering praise. Is that the CEO's fiancé? He's so handsome. His skin is even better than Mr. Miller's. Look at that suit he's wearing. The material must be really expensive. Yeah, and look at the watch on his wrist. Are those diamonds? It's so shiny. I watched them with cold eyes. Paul saw me first and walked over, his leather shoes clicking on the ground. Leo, long time no see. His condescending air made me sick, but with so many people watching, I couldn't just ignore him. Long time no see. He stepped closer and whispered in my ear. Victoria and I are getting married next month. I hope you can come to our wedding. He smiled brightly, then waved Victoria over. They stood side by side in front of me. Leo, I'm sincerely inviting you. We would love to have your blessing most of all. Victoria looked at me with a complicated expression. But she didn't argue with Paul and extended an invitation as well. I'll have an invitation sent to you. I don't need one. I seriously wanted to crack open her head and see what was inside. Victoria, are you on something? You're bringing your homewrecker to invite your ex-husband to your wedding? Paul is not a homewrecker. Victoria hissed, but her face flushed red at my words. Not a homewrecker? I showed her the photo her father had sent me. This looks a little too cozy to be platonic, don't you think? And check the date. It was our wedding anniversary. Paul tried to snatch my phone, but I dodged him. He stumbled, nearly falling, and Victoria quickly steadied him. Leo, that's going too far. How dare you push Paul in front of me? Now I was sure of it. Victoria wasn't just clueless, she was blind. I shrugged. Then you'd better get your little plaything out of here, or I might just keep bullying him. It's okay, Victoria. Leo didn't mean it, Paul said, putting on a show of consoling her. Then he led her away to get ready for the day's shoot. Only then did I realize that the commercial the mayor mentioned was actually their engagement photo shoot. Our village was known for its scenery, and people had come to paint or take pictures before, but this was the first time for a wedding shoot. And I ended up playing the role of Paul's assistant. There were plenty of crew members, but he seemed to single me out on purpose, first asking me to adjust his suit, then to get him some water. I patiently did as he asked, wanting only to get away as fast as possible. I was afraid if I stayed a second longer, I'd lose control and kill the happy couple. Just then, Paul shouted, drawing everyone's attention. My ring is gone. He frantically searched for it, and Victoria ordered everyone to help. But after looking for a long time, they found nothing. Paul pointed at me, his eyes red-rimmed. Victoria, it must have been Leo. He took it. My eyes widened. I couldn't believe that after bossing me around all day, he had another trick up his sleeve. I didn't take it. Victoria didn't seem to believe it either. Paul, look again carefully. Leo wouldn't take your ring. Paul pouted. Victoria, you'd rather believe him than me? He was the only one near me. I took the ring off while I was getting my makeup done. If he didn't take it, who else could have? I said I didn't take it. Stop making baseless accusations. Victoria looked from Paul to me, frowning as if she couldn't make up her mind. Then do you dare to let me look in your bag? Do you dare let me search you? I wasn't about to indulge Paul's ridiculous demand, so I refused flat out. But the more I refused, the more pitiful he acted, going on and on about how important the ring was to him. Finally, Victoria walked over and tried to grab my bag. Paul has a point. You're such a gold digger, maybe you did take the ring. Let me check. In your dreams. I clutched the bag tightly, refusing to give it to her, but in her eyes, that was just proof of my guilt. If you didn't take it, why won't you let me look? Leo, a leopard can't change its spots. I can't believe you'd stoop to stealing. The more she spoke, the more convinced she became. She started shoving me, trying to wrench the bag away. In the struggle, my bag fell, and its contents spilled onto the ground. Tissues, my house key and glasses case, and a comic book. I had bought this bag myself, it was the only decent thing I own now. I usually just used a canvas tote for teaching, but since a big company was coming, I'd wanted to look presentable. Everything was out on the ground, but there was no ring. Paul still wasn't satisfied and kept whispering in Victoria's ear. Victoria, it's probably on him. I want to search him. He called her name several times, but she didn't respond. She was kneeling on the ground, staring at the comic book. I saw her hand was trembling slightly, and her breathing grew ragged. Leo, why is this book in your bag? Paul tried to take it, but Victoria snatched it away. He could only take her arm and say softly, Victoria, it's just a beat-up old book. Who cares? Let's go take the photos. But this time, Victoria didn't listen to him. Instead, annoyed by his whining, she snapped, Shut up. Paul jumped, startled, and stood to the side, biting his lip. Victoria looked up at me, her eyes searching. Tell me, how do you have this book? Her name was written in it, so it was technically hers. I couldn't refuse to give it back. My grandfather gave it to me. Since it's yours, you can have it. Don't say I didn't return it on purpose. Impossible. Her voice suddenly shot up, startling me. Before I could react, Victoria grabbed my shoulders. Where is your grandfather? I need to see him. Her question reopened a raw wound. I pushed her hands away. Are you insane? I already told you, my grandfather is dead. He's dead because you wouldn't give me the money for his treatment. Victoria staggered back a few steps. When she looked up again, her eyes were completely red. Do you have a picture of him? A photo on his tombstone? Take me to see it. I had never seen her like this before. Without thinking, I led her to my grandfather's grave. Victoria leaned in close, staring intently at the photo on the headstone. She slowly closed her eyes, as if trying to recall something. When she opened them again, they were bloodshot. Leo, is there a river to the south? There was, but a kid drowned there once, and the water wasn't clean, so they filled it in later. Hearing my answer, Victoria seemed to deflate. She sank to the ground in front of the grave, grabbing her hair and letting out a tortured cry. No, it's not possible. It can't be. She suddenly shot up and went to Paul, shaking him violently. You said you were the one who saved me, didn't you? Then why does Leo have this comic book? Paul was stunned, stammering, unable to form a coherent sentence. Victoria, I did save you, you remember, don't you? I was the one who was with you when you decided to turn your life around. You said I was your savior, didn't you?
Victoria froze.
She looked at me, at the headstone, then back at Paul, shaking her head and muttering, Wrong, it was all wrong. Suddenly, she crouched on the ground, buried her head in her hands, and began to sob uncontrollably, as if releasing years of pent-up emotion. Leo, I had the wrong person. She looked at me, her eyes filled with agony. My mind was so fuzzy back then. I only vaguely remember what your grandfather looked like, and a blurry figure of a little boy, skipping around. Victoria's words jogged a memory from long ago. 10 years earlier, my grandfather had taken me into town to collect scraps. On our way back, we saw a little girl struggling in the water, with an unconscious woman beside her. My grandfather pulled them out and performed first aid. The woman quickly came to. After they were out of danger, I was about to go home to get them some food. So when Victoria woke up, she saw my grandfather, and the skipping boy was me. They had left in a hurry, grabbing a backpack from the riverbank. The comic book must have fallen out of it. It was just a small incident, but I never would have imagined that the people my grandfather saved that day were Victoria and her mother. Her father's medical bills had bankrupted the family, but he died anyway. With no money left, her mother had decided to end her life. She brought Victoria to this remote village to drown themselves in the river. She thought no one would ever find them or save them in such a secluded place. But my grandfather happened to be there. The world works in strange, twisted ways. Paul, who also lived in their wealthy neighborhood, appeared in her life, and she naturally assumed he was her savior. I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of irony, followed by a wave of endless bitterness. I'm so sorry, Leo. I'm so sorry to you and to your grandfather. I didn't know. My mother never told me what happened. I never knew who really saved me. Victoria kept apologizing to me, confessing her guilt. It's too late, Victoria. My grandfather is already dead. I begged you for the money to save him, but you didn't believe me. No. She pounded her fists against her head. I thought you were lying to me. I didn't know it was him who saved me. Of course you didn't know. After the grief, my heart had gone numb. Because in all the time we were together, you never once came home with me. You never even met my grandfather. Victoria, deep down, you always looked down on me. And you never loved me. No, Leo, don't say that. I just had the wrong person. Victoria stood up and pointed fiercely at Paul. It was him. He's the one who lied to me. Paul backed away. You're the one who assumed. I just went along with it. I never explicitly said it was me. It was all your own wishful thinking. Now I understood. From the very beginning, Paul knew he wasn't her savior, but he had happily accepted all the perks that came with the title. He kept the secret to ensure Victoria would always believe it. And Victoria, other than a vague sense of regret, never suspected a thing. Victoria's hand struck Paul's face. How could you be so vicious? If you didn't save me, why didn't you tell me? I was so poor back then. I truly thought you were my salvation. I treated you like a hero. This was all you're doing. You told me Leo was bullying you, that he was after my money, that he was lying to me. It was all you. Faced with her accusations, Paul didn't seem to think he'd done anything wrong. You believed everything I said. How is that my fault? You have no judgment of your own. You did whatever I said, and now you're blaming me? Victoria, you're the one with the inferiority complex. Do you even love me? You just wanted to conquer me to show off your money and status. You're no saint either. Watching them tear each other apart, I could only laugh. This was the man Victoria had obsessed over for years. This was the simple, kind man she always talked about. After they left, I had a few days of peace. The whole affair made me realize something. Poverty itself isn't the issue, but it can make sensitive children feel deeply insecure. In this poor village, in this underdeveloped town, what was needed most was education. The children from disadvantaged families needed access to a good education, so they could accept their circumstances with optimism and learn the skills to change their destinies. So I traveled around, lobbying the local government and the education board to pay more attention to rural education. When the first round of funding came through, the children got new desks, a playground for recess, and the same standard textbooks as the kids in the city. After hearing about the project, successful and kind-hearted people from all over started to donate. The foundation for a new school was laid. When the new school was completed, I would be its principal, leading the children of this village toward a brighter future. That night, a story hit the headlines. Vance Group CEO murders fiancé. After returning, Paul had secretly transferred a huge amount of Victoria's assets, nearly bankrupting her company. Victoria had been planning to break up with him for a while, but when she discovered the theft, they got into a violent fight and she killed him. Late that night, someone knocked on my door. It was Victoria. Leo! I killed someone. Her voice was excited, with no trace of fear. I killed that bastard Paul. From now on, you'll be my only husband. I promise I'll only love you. The police must be looking for me now. Run away with me. I know you still love me. We can run away to a place where no one knows us and start over. Okay? To keep her calm, I pretended to agree. I went into my room to pack and called the police. When the police broke down the door, Victoria was still in a daze. Leo, why did you call the police? I love you. Don't you want to run away with me? I may not have any money left, but I have my love for you. Don't you love me anymore? I nodded. That's right. I don't love you anymore. What did you say? I don't love you anymore, Victoria. You made a mistake and you have to face the consequences. You used to be more than good enough for me, but now you're not good enough for me. The police led her away as she screamed that she loved me. But I didn't need it anymore.